So there's this ancient fable about a monkey who comes across this jar of fruit set out by some hunters. And the monkey gets his hand in that jar, good enough. But then when he goes to pull it out, his hand is so full of the fruit, he can't pull it out. And so the monkey ends up getting caught because he refuses to let go of the fruit that's in his hand. But if he had known what I'm about to share with you today, he could have kept his reward and gotten away. The monkey story is about how when we try to hold on to too much, we end up with nothing. And today we're going to be talking about a goal setting strategy and applying this principle to this goal setting strategy by none other than the world renowned investor Warren Buffett. But what I want to know is, does this billionaire, does his strategy work for common folks like us? So here's the backstory. Buffett is having a conversation with his pilot, who's a very successful guy in his own right. He's an Air Force One pilot, and he's feeling like he is having trouble prioritizing his goals. And Buffett said, yeah, the problem is that most people have too many goals. So what Buffett advises him to do is to write down his top 25 goals. It's really, if you have 25 goals, let alone a top 25, you got way too many goals. But he advises him to write down his top 25, then circle the 5 most important goals, and then take the other 20 and ignore them entirely. Sounds harsh. Buffett advises that in order to achieve real progress, you've got to let go of most of what you think you want. And just like that monkey, if you can do it, then what you're actually doing is you're releasing what's holding you back. At first, this 525 rule might seem like it's really restrictive, and you're going to have to ignore things that you really care about. But really what you're doing is you're taking your attention and focusing it where it's most important. Imagine if you're trying to give attention equally to 25 different things in your life. And now you're freed up, that number is reduced to just 5. And you can take all your time and attention and focus it on just those 5. Just imagine the progress you'd make in such a short amount of time. Now, I believe that this 525 rule is just a different name for something called the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule. Buffett just applied it to goal setting and called it the 525 rule. But really, the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule, if you've never heard of it, is basically that 80% of progress is made by 20% of the effort. So in other words, in business, 80% of the revenue generated comes from 20% of your customer base. Or in any type of organization, 80% of the work is getting done by 20% of the people. So you see this everywhere. You'll see it everywhere. Once you know this principle, you're going to see it everywhere you look, that 80% of what happens comes from 20% of the effect. 80% of the cause is from 20% of the effect, basically. It's a mathematical principle that simply just works. So Buffett just applied it to goal setting, but it's a principle that works mathematically in the world we live in. All right, let's give this a try. Go ahead and grab a pen and paper and sit down and write out your top 25 goals. And I'll sit here and wait. And trust me, that is a big number, and it's going to take you a little while, but go ahead and do it. In a few minutes, you're going to find out why it's really important that you come up with 25 goals. That was something that was really genius of Buffett, to come up with 25 goals. You got to do it. You're going to see why that's super important. So go ahead and write down 25 goals. Don't make any up. Just make sure they're all relevant to things that you really do want, and come up with your list. And then come back. Go ahead and hit pause. Now, from that list, go ahead and circle your top 5. And that's tough because you're probably thinking, okay, how do I know what my 5 most important goals are in life? It's really tough. But I'm going to give you a little secret right now that's going to make that so much easier. Your top 5 goals always are and always will be about who you're trying to become. So take anything that is not on that sheet that is going to help you become who you're trying to become, and it's not in your top 5. So, for example, let's say that your goal is to become a creator for Disney. Anything on that sheet that doesn't help you further that goal, go ahead and cross it off. Now, I know some of you are probably having a knee-jerk reaction saying, well, what about, shouldn't my goals be about a balanced life? Shouldn't I have spiritual goals? Shouldn't I have physical goals? Shouldn't I have financial goals and relational goals? But here's the thing. All those areas are important in life. But if you set a good goal, it's going to affect every area of your life. I'll give you an example. When I had my company, every year we would get together as a company, all the employees, and we would shut down for the day and we would set company goals, and everybody would set their personal goals, and we would do this together. And one year, one of my technicians, one of his goals was to buy a house before the year ended. And setting that goal, it helped him financially because he had to save the money. It helped him, improve the relationship with his fiance because he stayed home at night a whole lot more. It made him a better employee because he figured out how to work smarter so that he could make more money without having to work any extra. It made his health better because every day he brought his lunch to work to save money instead of eating fast food. So a good goal will affect every area of your life. So don't worry about that. Let a good goal do its job. When you set good goals, they can't help but work holistically in your life. All right, so you got your top 5, and now what do you do with the 20 that you crossed off? You just crumple it up and throw it out? Nope. You're going to make that into a list and keep it right next to your top 5. Because when I said you're going to ignore it entirely, you are, but you are going to consciously ignore it entirely. You want to keep that list in front of you so you know I'm ignoring these. These are good things, but I am not pursuing them right now. It's a reminder that this is not where you're going to put your time and attention towards. And I'll tell you, when I started my service company, I started out as just cleaning carpet and upholstery, and we grew. But from the beginning, I knew that I wanted to eventually build a cleaning plant that handled high-end textiles like fine area rugs and linen and silk. And I wanted to be a company that was experts at what we did and had that reputation. But along the way, we started doing water damage work. So if somebody's home flooded from a storm or a pipe burst, we would go in, extract the water, set up a drying system, come back, get everything all cleaned up and back as good as new, and then collect a nice check from the insurance company. And it was lucrative money, but at some point we realized doing this is not helping us become who we're trying to become, and that's a company that handles high-end textiles. So ended up stopping that service and referring that out to other reputable companies that did that. It was a difficult decision because it was lucrative, but it was made because it wasn't helping us become who we wanted to become. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. The way that decision ended up coming back around is so cool. I got to tell you about that. So those are the 3 steps to his 525 rule. And it's simple enough, but it's not easy. Because writing out a list of things you want is easy. Circling your top 5 is easy. But having the courage to say no to good things because you want to focus all your attention on the important things, it's really difficult to do that. But if we have the courage to say no to the things that we want versus the things that we really want, we can make the progress that we really want. And think of it like this. If you're trying to build a race car, you can't start building a luxury race car. You're either a race car or a luxury car, but there's no possible way you're going to win races being slowed down with air conditioning and and a sunroof and all this other stuff. So you got to decide, you got to look at your goals, and they have to align with who you're trying to become. Oh, so what was really cool is that, yeah, we made that decision to stop doing water damage service, sub it out to other reputable companies that did that kind of work. And we focused on building our cleaning plant for delicate and high end textiles. Well, ends up over the years, we get a pretty good reputation for being able to handle those things. And companies that do water damage, they're more general in their cleaning. They don't deal with specialized delicate textiles. So our reputation got out there, and all these companies started bringing us that work, which was great for us because we got the work we wanted. It was all delivered to us, and we got paid sooner for it. So it was amazing how that all worked out. All right. So does Buffett's advice work for common folks like us? Yeah, it does. But mainly because it's got the Pareto principle behind it. It's this mathematical formula that just exists in our world. And, it, you know, it's going to work. But the trick is you really have to have the courage to allow it to work. You got to have the courage to stop giving your time and attention to maybe some easier goals or maybe some things that are more fun to do, and focus your time and attention only on what's most important. And the progress you're going to make is going to be amazing. Hey, if you've ever tried this method, I'd love to know what you're focusing on. I'd love to know your experience with doing it, if it's really helped you or not. Go ahead and leave that in the comments below. There's probably some of you that are thinking, wow, this has been really helpful. I wish I could help Dave out in some way. Well, I'm going to tell you how you can do that. Easiest thing to do is to like and subscribe to the channel. What that does is that tells YouTube that I'm doing a good job and people like this and it's helpful. And so they will send it to other people that are going to find it helpful as well. And that is something I would love to see happen. Thanks for watching, and go out and crush it on your goals.